I grew up in a house where things were never exactly equal, despite what everyone thought. My twin brother, Justin, was always the golden boy. He had that easy charm, the kind of smile that could get him out of trouble and win people over without much effort. Me, I was the quiet one, the one who blended into the background, like the beige carpet in our living room. And honestly, I was used to it, until graduation night. Graduation was a big deal in our small town. The whole senior class gathered in the high school gym, decorated with blue and gold streamers that clung to the walls with decades-old tape. Parents beamed. Phones were out to capture every second. I sat through the speeches, the diploma handoff, the standing ovations. But the real surprise came later, in the parking lot. We walked outside, and there it was, a brand-new Ford Bronco, glistening under the parking lot lights. Midnight blue with black rims. I didn't need to ask who it was for. Justin's name was written all over it. Literally. There was a giant hand-painted sign across the hood that said, "Congratulations, Justin. We are so proud of you." Mom stood next to it, clapping. Dad had his phone out, recording Justin's reaction. Justin played it up like a pro, running his hands over the hood, pretending to be shocked. He gave that "Thanks, guys," look like a kid opening an iPhone on Christmas morning. Meanwhile, I stood off to the side, forcing a smile while my stomach twisted into knots. I told myself not to care. We were different people. I'd never been the favorite. No big deal, right? Just another chapter in the Justin show. After the excitement settled down, Dad reached into his jacket pocket. "And we didn't forget about you, Alex," he said with a grin. "Here's your gift." He handed me a small, crumpled piece of paper. "A lottery ticket. Got it with the spare change at the grocery store," he added. "Figured why not? Maybe you'll get lucky." The family laughed, that polite, almost rehearsed chuckle you hear when someone says a dad joke at Thanksgiving. I took the ticket and turned it over in my hands. A $5 scratch-off. Gold lettering promised riches beyond imagination. I played along, smiled, and shoved it into my pocket. Inside, though, it felt like someone handed me a participation trophy. On the ride home, Justin kept going on about the Bronco. "It's got heated seats, a touchscreen, and check this, adaptive cruise control." Mom nodded proudly. "We want to get you something special, something that shows how proud we are." I sat in the back seat, fiddling with the corner of the lottery ticket. The smell of fries from the McDonald's bag Dad grabbed on the way home filled the car. Justin reached back, snatched a handful, and kept talking about his new adventure mobile. I tuned out, watching the lights from passing billboards blur through the window. One advertised a weekend carnival at the mall. Another showed a smiling couple holding a giant check. Winner of $500,000. My fingers instinctively tightened around the ticket. Later that night, I lay on my bed staring at the ticket. My mind was racing. Why did it always have to be like this? I thought about the years of uneven Christmas gifts, the birthday parties where Justin got the cool new gadgets while I unwrapped socks. But this time, it hit differently. Maybe because it was so blatant. A Bronco versus a piece of paper bought with spare change. I almost crumpled the ticket and tossed it. Almost. But something stopped me. I sat up, smoothed it out, and placed it in the top drawer of my nightstand. Might as well keep it, I thought. Maybe I'll get a free soda or something. And as I closed the drawer, a strange feeling settled in my chest. Not quite anger. Not quite sadness. Something else. Something that felt like a challenge. I didn't know it then, but that little piece of paper was about to turn my life upside down. Growing up, it wasn't like I didn't know the score. I'd figured it out pretty early. Justin got the new toys, the cool clothes, the first pick of just about everything. If there was a limited edition action figure at the store, it somehow landed on his shelf. Meanwhile, I was the kid stuck with hand-me-downs and off-brand sneakers that squeak with every step through the school hallways. We were twins, but the treatment wasn't even close. That lottery ticket sat in my nightstand, a crumpled symbol of that imbalance. Every time I opened the drawer, it stared back at me, a reminder that my graduation gift had cost less than the drive-through dinner on the way home. But I didn't say a word. I just smiled through it, like always. The weekend after graduation, my parents threw a barbecue. The backyard was buzzing with conversations. The crackle of a Bluetooth speaker playing a classic rock playlist, and the distant sounds of kids laughing while they tossed beanbags at a cornhole board. The smell of burgers and hot dogs mixed with the sweet tang of barbecue sauce and sunscreen. Plastic tables were covered with checkered tablecloths, bowls of potato salad, and red Solo cups of lemonade. Dad stood by the grill, wearing his grill master apron, flipping patties like he was running a five-star steakhouse. The star of the show, though, was parked in the driveway, Justin's shiny new Ford Bronco. Midnight blue, chrome accents, and rims that looked like they belonged in a car commercial. It was strategically positioned for maximum visibility. Neighbors wandered by, whistling and asking questions. My parents beamed as they retold the story of how they surprised Justin with it. My brother, meanwhile, walked around tossing the keys in the air and catching them like a kid with a fidget spinner. I stood by the food table, pretending to be interested in the Jell-O salad someone had brought. A few neighbors gave me sympathetic smiles, the kind that said, "We see what's happening here, kid." I just nodded and looked away, pretending to check my phone. I considered texting myself just to look busy. The moment that stuck with me happened when Mr. Thompson from next door clapped my dad on the back. "That Bronco's a beauty," he said. "But Alex can't wait for his turn. What's he driving?" Dad chuckled and shook his head. "Oh, Alex got a lottery ticket. Maybe he'll hit it big and buy his own car." He said it like I won a gag gift at a Christmas party. The laughter that followed stung worse than a sunburn. My cheeks burned, and I gripped the edge of the table. I wanted to disappear into the grass. But instead, I plastered on a smile and gave a little shrug like, "Yeah, what a hilarious joke." Justin strolled over just in time to hear the end of the conversation. "Yeah," he said, twirling the keys around his finger. "Maybe Alex will get lucky. Or maybe he can borrow mine if I'm feeling generous." The keys jingled like a tiny applause just for him. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might crack. But I didn't say anything. I just stood there, staring at the glittering blue Bronco while the voices around me turned into background noise. That night, lying in bed, the memory of that moment played on repeat. My dad's laugh, Justin's smug grin, Mr. Thompson's awkward smile when he realized the joke might have gone too far. I opened the nightstand and pulled out the ticket, running my thumb over the scratch-off surface. Luck. That's what it all came down to, wasn't it? Who got lucky and who didn't. My family acted like Justin's good fortune was some cosmic inevitability, and my mediocrity was equally fated. But maybe it wasn't about luck. Maybe it was about taking control. If they weren't going to give me a fair shot, I'd make my own. The next morning, I woke up early and rode my bike across town to Mike's car, Washington. I'd seen the help wanted sign in the window a few weeks back. The place smelled like wet concrete and lemon-scented cleaner. Mike stood behind the counter, drinking coffee from a mug that said, "World's okayest boss." He raised an eyebrow when I asked for a job. "You ever washed cars before?" he asked, blowing on his coffee. "Not professionally," I said, "but I've hosed down the family minivan plenty of times." Mike shrugged. "Show up tomorrow at 8. Don't be late. We'll see what you're made of." I rode home with a knot in my stomach. I didn't know if this was the right move, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to stand around watching Justin toss his keys in the air forever. The next morning, I set my alarm for 6 and laid out my clothes the night before. As I drifted off to sleep, the image of that lottery ticket flashed in my mind. It was still sitting in the drawer untouched. And that ticket, it was waiting, just like me. The first week at Mike's car wash hit me like a truck. My arms ached. My back felt like it had been rearranged, and my sneakers were constantly soaked. I had no idea car grime could find its way into so many places. But weirdly, I didn't mind. There was something satisfying about taking a muddy, bug-splattered SUV and returning it to a gleaming, mirror-like state. Mike, my boss, seemed to appreciate my effort. Every afternoon, he'd walk around with his giant mug of coffee, inspecting the cars. The mug had "World's Best Grill Dad" printed on it, though Mike claimed he only won it in a church raffle. "Hard work pays off, kid," he said once, giving me a nod. "Wish my son would watch you for a day. That kid thinks money grows on trees. Spends more time scrolling TikTok than working." I smiled and kept scrubbing the wheels of a minivan, wondering what it would feel like to earn enough to buy my own car. A used one, of course. Nothing fancy like Justin's Bronco. Still, the thought of driving something that didn't come from someone else's leftovers lit a small fire in me. By the end of each shift, I was wiped out. My jeans were soaked with soap suds, my fingers pruned like raisins, and I smelled like lemon-scented cleaner. But the ache in my muscles felt good, earned. Unlike the forced smiles I wore at family events, this effort actually mattered. Most days, I'd swing by the gas station across the street after work, grab a Dr. Pepper, and sit on the curb, watching cars pass. My shoes left wet footprints on the pavement, but I didn't care. It felt like my own little victory ritual. That night, after a particularly brutal day scrubbing the undercarriage of a lifted truck that looked like it had been through a swamp, I collapsed onto my bed. My nightstand drawer creaked as I opened it to grab my phone charger. And there it was, the lottery ticket. I'd nearly forgotten about it. The flimsy piece of paper sat untouched under a pile of random receipts and some old birthday cards. I picked it up and stared at the shimmering gold lettering. Golden Chance $5 scratch-off. It promised life-changing prizes, though I figured the only thing it would change was the trash level in my nightstand. But something about that day, Mike's comment about hard work, the exhaustion in my body, the bitter memory of Justin tossing his Bronco keys in the air, pushed me to check it. I downloaded the lottery app, ignoring the sweat still drying on my neck. My thumb hovered over the scan ticket button. "Come on, let's get this over with," I muttered to myself. I held the ticket under the phone's camera. The app beeped and displayed "scanning" in bright blue letters. My heart rate picked up, even though I knew it was pointless. The screen flashed. "Congratulations, $500,000 winner." I blinked. The numbers didn't change. My brain tried to process what I was seeing. I tapped the phone screen like it was a glitch. No change. The message stayed, mocking me with its absurd reality. "No way," I whispered, voice cracking. I scanned the ticket again. Same result. I checked the rules on the back of the ticket twice. My hands trembled so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. $500,000. Me. The kid with the squeaky shoes and the hand-me-downs. The one who got a joke gift at graduation. My vision blurred as tears filled my eyes. Not from sadness or anger this time. From sheer disbelief. I clutched the ticket like it was made of gold. My mind raced. What do I do now? Do I tell my parents? My friends? Mike? Justin? No. No way. Not yet. For the first time in my life, I was holding more than just a scrap of paper. I was holding freedom. And that ticket wasn't just waiting anymore. It was screaming for action, like I'd just thrown a Hail Mary and actually caught it. The next morning, I woke up with the kind of energy that usually only comes from 3 cups of gas station coffee, the kind with a stale donut on the side. The first thing I did was check my phone, half expecting the app to say there had been a mistake. But the message was still there. $500,000 winner. My heart raced. I needed proof beyond a glowing screen. I threw on a hoodie and grabbed the ticket. The closest place to verify it was the mini-mart 3 blocks away, the one where teenagers hung out after school pretending to buy energy drinks while eyeing the lottery machine. The place with sticky floors, the hum of the slushy machine, and the faint smell of burnt coffee. I walked in, head down, heart pounding. "Morning, kid," said the cashier, a middle-aged guy with a mustache that twitched when he talked. He wore a faded "I break for tacos" t-shirt. "Hey," I said, voice cracking. "Can you check this?" He took the ticket and fed it into the scanner with the kind of nonchalance only a guy who's seen it all could have, like he was scanning a pack of gum instead of life-changing money. The machine beeped. His eyes widened. "Whoa, you just won $500,000, dude." I laughed, a short, nervous bark. "You're kidding?" "Nope. Want it in cash." He snorted. "Just kidding. You'll get a claim form and a check later." He handed me a printed receipt with instructions on how to claim the prize. I stood there for a second, my knees wobbling. $500,000. Real. Tangible. My mind raced. I thanked the cashier and practically floated out of the store. The air felt different. Crisper. Brighter. Like the world had shifted slightly on its axis. But then the anxiety kicked in. $500,000 wasn't exactly billionaire territory, but it was life-changing for me. And life-changing money came with life-changing problems if people found out. My family would demand a cut. My brother would probably ask for a loan to upgrade his Bronco. I needed help. After a quick Google search, I found a small law firm with solid reviews. The office smelled like old coffee and worn carpet. The attorney, Mr. Jacobs, was in his 50s, with a kind smile and a tie that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 90s. "Lottery winnings, huh?" he said, glancing at the form. "First things first. Taxes." He did some quick math on a legal pad. Federal tax takes about 24% up front, plus state tax, depending on where you live. In this state, that's another 5%. So from $500,000, you'll lose roughly $145,000 in taxes. That leaves you with around $355,000. I exhaled. "Still a lot of money," I said. "Absolutely," Jacobs agreed. "Let's set up a private account in your name. Don't go flashing this around. Money attracts attention." We opened an account at a local credit union under my name, the kind with old magazines from 2015 in the waiting area. He also helped me pay the taxes directly from the winnings to avoid any issues later. The bank teller didn't even blink as she processed a deposit. I walked out of the bank with a crisp receipt that confirmed I had $355,000 to my name. No longer just a kid with a lottery ticket. The temptation to tell someone was overwhelming. I pictured walking into the kitchen at home and casually dropping the news. Imagine Justin's face turning pale, Mom's eyes going wide. But then I remembered the barbecue, the laughs, the way they talked about my ticket like it was a punchline. No, this was mine. I folded the receipt, tucked it into my wallet, and walked home with a plan forming in my head. No one needed to know. Not yet. Not until I figured out exactly what I wanted to do next. I wasn't just keeping a secret. I was planning a move. I sat on my bed, flipping the receipt between my fingers, the numbers printed on it like a secret code to a new life, like the receipt from a Costco run that never ends. $355,000. My mind raced with possibilities. For the first time, I wasn't fantasizing about what I'd do if I won the lottery. I had actually won. But the money didn't just feel like luck. It felt like a ticket to something bigger. My first instinct was to march downstairs, slam the receipt on the table, and enjoy the stunned looks on my family's faces. I pictured Justin's jaw dropping, Mom's voice rising in that "oh my goodness" pitch she used when surprised. But then I thought about what would happen next. Questions, demands, guilt trips about family unity. No, this wasn't for them. This was mine. Instead, I lay back and stared at the ceiling, imagining what freedom could look like. I saw myself driving down a long stretch of highway, windows down, music blasting. No more borrowing the family minivan. No more hitching rides with friends or waiting for Justin to maybe let me use the Bronco if he didn't have plans. The idea struck me like a jolt of electricity. I was going to buy a car. My car. Not some beat-up sedan with a cracked dashboard. Something that made a statement. I grabbed my laptop and started researching. Opened 3 tabs and immediately got hit with pop-up ads for car insurance. Luxury brands felt too flashy. Sports cars didn't fit me. But then I saw it. The Jeep Grand Cherokee. Sleek, powerful, practical, but with just enough edge to say, yeah, I did this. I found a dealership a few towns over and browsed their inventory. Black, leather interior, tinted windows. The price made me hesitate. $58,000. My heart pounded. I could afford it. For the first time ever. That wasn't just a daydream. The next morning after my shift at the car wash, I called the dealership. I'm interested in the black Grand Cherokee you have listed, I said, trying to sound like a responsible adult. Sure, the salesman replied. Would you like to come in for a test drive? Actually, I'd like to buy it outright, I said. And I want it delivered. There was a pause. We can do that, he said slowly. Payment in full? Yes, I confirmed. And can you deliver it to Mike's car wash? I work there. The salesman agreed, though I could hear the curiosity in his voice. We arranged for a cashier's check, which I got from the bank the next morning while nervously glancing over my shoulder. Paranoia had officially kicked in. By the following Friday, everything was set. I barely slept the night before, half expecting someone to call and say it was all a mistake. I showed up to work early and told Mike a car delivery was coming. Treating yourself, huh? He said with a grin. Good for you, kid. Just don't let it go to your head. The truck arrived just after lunch. A flatbed rolled into the lot with the Jeep, strapped down like a prize fighter entering the ring. The sun caught the polished black paint, making it shimmer like oil on water. My co-workers gathered, whispering and nudging each other. That yours, Alex? One guy asked. Yeah, I said, keeping my voice casual. Figured it was time to get some wheels. Mike whistled low, like he was admiring a brisket fresh off the smoker. That's a beauty. And all yours, huh? All mine, I said, gripping the keys as they were handed to me. The leather was cool against my palm. I climbed in and inhaled the new car smell. The dashboard glowed with high-tech displays. I tapped the ignition button and the engine purred to life. No hand-me-downs. No borrowed keys. This was mine. As I pulled out of the lot, I caught sight of Mike through the rearview mirror. He gave me a nod of approval. But more than that, I saw the looks from my co-workers. Surprise, curiosity, maybe even a bit of envy. And that was just the beginning. The real fun was just getting started. The day I drove my new Jeep Grand Cherokee home felt like stepping onto a movie set where I was suddenly the main character. The black paint gleamed in the afternoon sun. The engine purred with a quiet confidence, and the leather seats still smelled like success, or at least like expensive air freshener. As I turned onto our street, I saw Justin's Bronco parked in the driveway, angled slightly so everyone driving by could admire it. I smirked and eased the Jeep into the curb across the street. No need to show off. Not yet. I killed the engine, sat for a moment and watched the house. The curtains shifted slightly in the living room window. Mom, always on neighborhood watch duty, scanning the street like she was guarding Fort Knox. I grabbed my backpack, locked the car, and strolled to the front door. Before I could open it, Mom swung it wide. Whose car is that? She asked, eyes darting from me to the Jeep. Client's, I said, keeping my face neutral. Just washing it for work. Fancy, she said, still staring at it. Hope they tip well. I shrugged and stepped inside. The house smelled like microwave lasagna and lemon-scented floor cleaner. From the living room, Justin's voice floated over. Hey, loser, who let you drive that thing? Work perk, I said. Boss trusts me. Justin snorted. Sure, like Mike's giving you the keys to something that nice. I dropped my backpack by the staircase and went to the kitchen. Dad sat at the table, scrolling his phone with one hand and stirring a cup of coffee with the other. "That Jeep out front?" he asked without looking up. "Yeah," I said, opening the fridge. "Just something I'm taking care of." "Well, don't scratch it," he muttered. "Looks like it costs more than our minivan." I grabbed a Coke, popped the tab, and leaned against the counter. The family's curiosity buzzed in the air like a mosquito you can't quite swat. I sipped my drink, savoring the moment. "You done staring at it?" I called toward the living room. "Shut up," Justin snapped. "Whose is it really?" "Mine," I said, setting the can on the counter with a deliberate clink. Silence. The kind of thick, suffocating quiet you get when someone drops a truth bomb in the middle of a conversation. I walked to the kitchen table, pulled the key fob from my pocket, and tossed it down. "Found myself some transportation," I said. Mom's eyes widened. "What do you mean yours?" "Where did you get that?" "Remember that lottery ticket you got me?" I asked. "The one you said you bought with spare change?" I tapped the key fob. Turns out it paid off. 500 grand. Dad's spoon slipped from his fingers and clattered into his mug. Mom's mouth opened and closed, then opened again, like she was auditioning for a goldfish impersonation. Justin turned beet red, his jaw tightening so hard I thought his teeth might crack. "No way," Justin said. "That's impossible." "Scanned it myself," I said, then had it verified at the store. "Money's in the bank. Well, minus taxes. Uncle Sam says hi." Mom grabbed the back of a chair. "And you bought a Jeep?" "Just like that." "Didn't think you'd approve of a Lumbo," I said with a shrug. "You didn't tell us," Dad said. His voice had shifted, gone from shock to something heavier. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Thought I'd surprise you," I said. Mission accomplished. Dad's brow furrowed. "That's a lot of money," he said slowly. "You know, son, we've always taught you about family. And when family comes into good fortune, well, it's nice to share the blessing." I leaned back against the counter and crossed my arms. There it was. Exactly what I'd expected. "Share?" I asked. "Like how?" "Your brother's got college coming up," Dad said, gesturing toward Justin. "We've been worried about tuition, and the house could use a new roof." Justin's eyes lit up. "Yeah," he said. "I mean, you wouldn't even have that money if it weren't for us. We gave you that ticket." I felt a laugh bubble up, sharp and bitter. "Yeah," I said, voice tight. "Lucky me." The tension thickened. Mom and Dad exchanged nervous glances. Justin stared at the key fob like he could summon it into his hands by sheer willpower. I drained the rest of my Coke and set the can down with a metallic thud. "I'll think about it," I said, pushing off the counter. I picked up the keys and headed toward the front door. Behind me, Dad called out, "Where are you going?" I didn't turn around. "To enjoy my car," I said, "before it becomes a community project." I stepped outside, climbed into the Jeep, and fired it up. The engine growled like a caged animal finally set free. Through the rear-view mirror, I saw them watching me from the window. Their faces were a mix of shock, confusion, and something else. Greed. I pulled back into the driveway later that evening, the Jeep's headlights sweeping across the familiar cracks in the pavement. The glow from the kitchen window caught my attention. The faint scent of apple pie drifted through the air, mixed with the distant hum of a neighbor's TV. Shadows moved behind the curtains, tall shapes, animated gestures. My family, huddled together like a jury in final deliberation. I sat for a moment, watching the silhouettes. The knot in my stomach tightened. This wasn't casual dinner conversation. I killed the engine and stepped out, the gravel crunching under my boots. As I reached the front door, I heard muffled voices. "Not right," Mom's voice sharp and insistent. "He wouldn't even have it if it weren't for us," Justin said. I pushed the door open. The conversation died mid-sentence. All three of them sat around the kitchen table. Mom wringing a dish towel, Dad leaning back with arms crossed, Justin slouched with his elbows planted. Their eyes snapped to me in unison. "Evening," I said, hanging my keys on the hook by the door. "Sit down," Dad said. His voice was low, tight. I pulled out a chair and sat. The tension in the air crackled like a static charge, like when someone says, "We need to talk," and you know it's bad. "We've been talking," Mom began, her smile forced. "About your situation." "My situation," I echoed, raising an eyebrow. "The lottery," Dad said, cutting to the chase. "That ticket. We were thinking. Since it came from us, it's only fair we all share the money." I blinked. "Share the money?" "We bought that ticket," Mom said. "It was a family gift." "A gift," I repeated. "You gave it to me?" "As a family," she pressed. "We never imagined it would win, but now that it has, well, it feels right to split it evenly 4 ways," Justin added. "You, me, Mom, and Dad. We each get 25%. I stared at him. "You want me to hand over $266,250 just like that? You wouldn't have it without us," he snapped. "Dad bought that ticket with the grocery money." I ran a hand over my jaw and leaned back, feeling the rough stubble I'd been too tired to shave after my shift at the car wash. "So now it's a loan." "It's family," Mom said softly. "We share." The pieces fell into place. They weren't proud. They weren't happy for me. They were calculating, scheming. I pictured their huddle by the window, planning how to divide my windfall. My jaw tightened. "I worked for that," I said. "I showed up every day at the car wash. I earned every dollar that wasn't eaten by taxes, but the ticket came from us," Dad said. "So, really, this is like family income." I let out a short laugh. "Lottery tickets are luck, not effort. You didn't do anything special. Without us, you wouldn't be sitting here with that Jeep," Justin said, voice rising. "Without you, I'd still have my dignity." I shot back. Silence slammed into the room, like the Wi-Fi went out during the Super Bowl. Mom's eyes glistened. Dad's face turned the color of wet cement. Justin's nostrils flared. "We're giving you 24 hours, Dad said finally, "to transfer the money. Or we'll figure something out." "What? Sue me?" I asked, standing. "Good luck convincing a judge you deserve a payday for buying a random ticket with leftover change." "We raised you," Mom said through clenched teeth. "Fed you, clothed you, and this is the thanks we get." I shook my head, heart racing. "You didn't raise me to be a doormat." The chair scraped against the floor as I stood. I walked to the staircase, taking the steps 2 at a time. In my room, I grabbed a duffel bag and shoved in clothes, my toothbrush, phone charger. My hands shook as I zipped it shut. Back downstairs, they were still at the table, whispering now. "Where are you going?" Mom called as I strode past. "To invest in myself," I said, slinging the bag over my shoulder. I stepped outside, the cold air slapping my face. I got into the Jeep, started the engine, and backed out. As I drove away, I glanced in the mirror. The 3 of them stood on the porch, silhouetted against the porch light. The light flickered, like it was waving goodbye. Good. The morning after I left home, I woke up in a roadside motel somewhere off I-70. The room smelled like stale coffee and industrial-strength cleaner. The patterned carpet looked like a relic from the 80s, and the heater rattled like an old truck climbing a hill. The bedside table held a plastic-wrapped cup and a laminated breakfast menu promising authentic American waffles with syrup that probably came from a pump. But I didn't care. For the first time, I felt free. I sat up, stretched, and grabbed my phone. I had 3 missed calls from Mom, 1 from Dad, and a text from Justin that just said, "Enjoy it while it lasts." I turned the phone off, tossed it onto the nightstand, and stared at the ceiling. I had no idea what was next. Just away. Away from that house, their demands, the endless feeling of being the family's second-class citizen. By noon, I was back on the road, heading west. Grabbed a gas station burrito that tasted like regret but did the job. Colorado had always fascinated me. Mountains, crisp air, and no chance of running into my family at the grocery store. I stopped in a small town just outside Denver, where the mountains framed every view like a postcard. After scrolling through rental listings, I found a tiny, single-story house with chipped blue siding and a porch swing that creaked in the breeze. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The first night there, I sat on the porch with a frozen pizza and a can of Dr. Pepper. The sky turned orange and purple as the sun dipped behind the mountains. I didn't need luxury. I needed peace. And, for once, I had it. A few weeks later, while washing the Jeep in the driveway and listening to an old country station crackling through the radio, an idea hit me. People here love their trucks and SUVs, but many were covered in mud from off-road adventures. I knew detailing inside and out thanks to months at Mike's Car Washington. So, I printed some flyers, posted an ad online, and named my business Rocky Mountain Auto Detailing. The calls came faster than I expected. I started with driveway jobs, scrubbing away layers of dirt and restoring shine. Word spread. Within a month, I had a waiting list. 3 months in, I rented a small garage downtown and hired 2 guys to help with the workload. My phone went from mom asking for money to clients booking weeks in advance. Life found a rhythm. Mornings were for cars. Vacuums humming, soap spraying, engines purring under clean hoods. Evenings were for me. Hikes in the foothills, grilling steaks on a small charcoal grill, or sitting on the porch with a beer, watching the stars. No nagging voices. No guilt trips. Just me, my Jeep, and the mountains. December rolled around, and the town transformed into a holiday postcard. Snow blanketed the streets. Lights twinkled from rooftops, and the scent of pine and hot cocoa filled the air. Lawns featured inflatable Santas and reindeer, some looking more deflated than festive. One evening, after locking up the garage, I checked the mailbox and found a plain white envelope with familiar handwriting. I stood there for a moment, the cold air biting my cheeks. The return address was still my parents' house. My gut said to toss it, but curiosity won. Inside was a card with a picture of a cozy fireplace on the front. The message inside read, "Merry Christmas, Alex. We've been thinking about you. We all make mistakes. Family is family. Love, Mom and Dad. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd tried to do. Just a passive mistakes were made line, like the past didn't matter." I laughed softly, shook my head, and slid the card back into the envelope. I placed it in the junk drawer next to the takeout menus. That night, I sat on the porch, a blanket around my shoulders and a mug of hot chocolate in hand. The mountains stood tall and silent under the stars. My phone buzzed with another client booking. Business was good. Life was mine. I didn't respond to the card. I didn't need to. I wasn't the kid with the lottery ticket anymore. I was Alex, the guy who made his own luck. And for the first time in my life, I was exactly where I wanted to be. Sometimes silence is everything.